This graphic tracks $83.5 billion. Between 2021 and early 2026, Meta platforms took a sum of money roughly equal to the total economic output of a mid-sized country, poured it into a single hardware division, and incinerated it. The panic that caused this massive write-off started with a single software update from Apple. In 2021, Apple released iOS 14.5, which introduced app tracking transparency, a prompt asking iPhone users if they wanted apps to track their activity. Most people tapped no. Almost overnight, Meta lost the ability to precisely target its ads. Inside the company, analysts call this the Android neurosis, a deep existential fear of relying entirely on operating systems controlled by Apple and Google. Mark Zuckerberg decided Meta needed its own digital territory, a sovereign platform where Apple had zero authority. He renamed the entire corporation from Facebook to Meta and directed his engineers to build the metaverse, a virtual reality ecosystem where his company would own both the software and the physical hardware. By early 2026, the project had recorded 21 consecutive quarters of catastrophic financial losses. The flagship virtual world, Horizon Worlds, struggled to retain users, and Meta quietly removed the software from its own headsets, placing the entire hardware strategy on terminal life support. Down $83 billion and losing its grip on the consumer tech landscape, the company faced a stark choice. They could retreat to their core social media business, or double down and spend absolutely whatever capital it took to dig their way out of the grave. While the virtual reality division bled capital, Meta's artificial intelligence research lab was quietly failing on a second front. Their flagship open-source AI models, known as the Llama series, were steadily losing ground to advanced systems from Google and OpenAI. To hide this technical gap, researchers rushed the release of Llama 4. When independent testers evaluated the models, they discovered Meta had cherry-picked their data. Researchers used different, hyper-optimized variants of the AI for different tests to artificially inflate the public scores. In reality, the models ranked 32nd globally. The manipulation was exposed by Meta's own chief AI scientist, Turing Award winner Yann LeCun. In a final interview before resigning his 12-year post, he admitted the research team had fudged a little bit. Publicly embarrassed on the global stage, Zuckerberg completely abandoned the standard corporate playbook of gradual course correction. Instead, he immediately blew the entire division up, completely firing the old guard of legacy scientists who built it. Organic innovation and scientific integrity had failed. To survive, Meta wiped the slate clean and leaned into the single advantage its competitors could not match: infinite capital. Building cutting-edge artificial intelligence requires an incredibly specific skill set. Across the globe, there are roughly 1,000 engineers capable of designing state-of-the-art AI cognitive architectures. Every major tech company is hunting the exact same tiny pool of people. Meta started by acquiring a 49% stake in a data infrastructure company called Scale AI for $15 billion. The true target of the deal was Scale's 28-year-old CEO, Alexander Wang. Meta installed him as the absolute authority over a brand new division, Meta Superintelligence Labs. Next, Zuckerberg personally assumed the role of head recruiter. He began showing up unannounced at private residences as elite OpenAI researchers, standing on doorsteps with containers of homemade soup to convince them to defect. This chart compares standard Silicon Valley compensation with Meta's new hiring packages. Standard tech contracts lock employees in with stock options that pay out slowly over 4 to 5 years. Meta destroyed this model, offering zero-penalty equity buyouts and base salaries approaching $100 million a year. To stop their top architects from leaving, OpenAI panicked. In a single day, they allowed employees to immediately cash out up to $30 million in shares each, creating 75 new millionaires just to plug the drain. Meta proved that cultivating a long-term culture of innovation is strictly optional if you possess the cash reserves to buy the minds your rivals have already trained. In February 2025, former OpenAI executives launched a startup called Thinking Machines Lab. Valued at $12 billion, they built a tool called Tinker. It allowed any independent researcher to train cutting-edge AI using 99% less computing power. It threatened to break the corporate monopoly on artificial intelligence. Meta attempted to buy the entire company and was rejected. Instead, they approached a single co-founder, Andrew Tulloch, and offered him $1.5 billion over 6 years to abandon his startup. Tulloch accepted. His departure triggered a collapse in confidence. Within months, 5 of the original founders defected directly to Meta, and a $12 billion company poised to redefine human-computer interaction was surgically hollowed out. But absorbing entire startups and committing up to $145 billion for physical data center construction required deep financial cuts elsewhere in the organization. On May 20, 2026, Meta sent termination notices to 8,000 employees across its legacy divisions. 10% of its global workforce was erased on the exact same day the company finalized a $1.5 billion check for a single engineer. Capital flowed in 2 distinct directions. It pushed outward to dismantle competitors, and inward, sacrificing the company's own workforce to balance the ledger. All of this spending culminated in Louisiana, where Meta built the Hyperion data center. At full capacity, it consumes 2.2 gigawatts of electricity, the equivalent of 2 nuclear power plants, running constantly to train Meta's new systems. Inside Hyperion, Meta abandoned open-source research and released a proprietary model called MuseSpark. They utilized a technique called thought compression, aggressively penalizing the AI during training for using too much computing power. The resulting system solved complex problems with higher accuracy than larger competitors, using a fraction of the resources. Meta deployed MuseSpark across its network of 3.5 billion users, integrating it directly into their wildly successful Ray-Ban smart glasses. Users control the AI through subtle finger pinches, completely circumventing Apple's iPhone operating system. Meta finally owned the hardware and the intelligence behind it. Over 5 years, Mark Zuckerberg burned $83 billion chasing a virtual reality ecosystem. His company committed scientific fraud and fired thousands of its own people. Yet today, it stands as the dominant force in artificial intelligence. In the modern technology arms race, having the sharpest innovators or the superior product provides no guarantee of survival. If a competitor has limitless capital and a complete willingness to deploy it ruthlessly, they can simply buy the future right out from underneath you.